turn the audio levels up here so we can actually hear something.
Let's vicious cycle.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tide Eats.
We can stitch it up when the time comes. She says your late night living is driving me crazy. Stamps are killing you. Tired of crying through cocaine come downs in your whiskey bottle
All right.
of blue.
We should be good. Okay. Now that we know we've got the connection, and we've got everybody here. Lily Walker, Ted Mendel, Dr. Brian Gully, and the man, the myth, the legend, Jay Gardner joining us. Good morning, everybody.
On a hot mic, maybe? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll get it all modulated, make sure everybody sounds good and can hear themselves.
Right.
Good morning. Welcome to KUKA Driscoll 105.9 and 103.3. And 104.1. I believe we're also on Retro Tejano. This is Island Moon Thursday. We are glad you're with us. My name is Jacob Oggs. We are making sure that the audio is good. Everything is recording.
And we were talking about Karankawas actually before we came on air. So no, that's interesting stuff. So they would migrate over to the island, and they would just follow the fish and follow the food. That's the
They would
whole
spend
idea.
the winters on the island,
Yeah.
which sounds like a nasty place
Yeah.
to spend the winter. But they would catch the redfish and whatnot in the pools, the shallow pools,
And the drum, yeah, exactly.
and the drum, and catch them and eat them, and then migrate to go eat owls and possums and whatever else they can catch. But mainly they would go
Owls
after the
and
prickly
possums.
pears. They would eat prickly pears, and if you
and black eagles.
yeah, but whatever. Yeah.
And lugworms.
Probably whooping
And
cranes.
lugworms,
Probably
yes.
whooping cranes occasionally too. But
Yeah. Sandhills, yeah.
and so they lived all along the better areas to live around here, along the banks of the Nueces River. It was one of the big places where Cal Island is now.
Right,
Along
yeah.
Ingleside, where all the houses are. So when the people, some of which complain about we don't want Enbridge to build something there because there were Karankawas living here, you don't understand his house was where Karankawas lived.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
And so they lived all over here, but they didn't have a great culture as far as how they buried people, how they worshiped, how they built things. They just wandered around eating things that were hunter-gatherers.
Right.
And there are none left. By the way, you hear people say they're Karankawa Indians. The last Karankawa, her name was Mary, and she died childless in about 150 years ago.
Oh,
And
wow.
she was well known, and as far as everyone knows back then, that was the last DNA on Earth of a Karankawa Indian.
Wow.
So when you hear people say, I'm a Karankawa Indian, well, not really.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
and
they would boil down alligator fat and rub it on them to keep mosquitoes.
Oh
off.
my
I'm
gosh,
correct,
yeah, I
right?
couldn't
That's-
imagine.
Because they
yeah.
lived in these mosquito havens.
Oh my God, I just got one in my eye.
Yeah.
Literally. Oh, jeez.
But quite fascinating people because they were considered some of the tallest Indians in the
Well,
Americas.
And I think we do the same thing these days. We follow the seasons, right? And so, in the fall it's dove season, and then it works into pompano season, and then we chase the tarpon down the beach, and then and then we go deer hunting. So
Then we go skiing in Colorado.
Well, I don't know. Well, you might follow that season, but yeah.
Tell us, Jay, where's the hardhead season?
Hardhead
Yeah.
season is all the time right here at lovely Doc's Steaks and Seafoods next to the fish cleaning station.
Yeah.
You can get all the hardheads you want right down there.
I think they're trained now.
They
Oh, yeah.
Some of them are named and they've got lists of their hobbies and everything. It's
A list of their hobbies.
look around any fish cleaning station, and you'll be afraid to fall in the water there because
I
there's
know.
so many hardheads.
Laguna piranhas, too,
Yeah.
yeah. Which are the pinfish. So, yes, welcome back to Island Moon.
Yes.
So, yes.
We are on Island Moon Live for those watching. Hello, we're streaming live from Doc's Seafood and Steaks here on the beautiful North Padre Island, out here with the trout and the redfish. We actually a lot of trout in the lights this morning. Ted and I were sitting there watching. Ted almost ran to his truck and grabbed a fishing pole, but we were
They supply fish for the docks for dinner.
yeah. Well, say that again.
We're gonna go fishing and give it to Doc so they can serve it for dinner tonight.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the trout, not the hard
mislabeled fish. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It seems like these trout under the lights have gotten a little bigger over the last few years since the freeze. At least at my dock, at my house, at night, the run of trout that we catch are running bigger now than they were before the freeze, which is a good sign.
Well, it's also the new regulations, you know.
Right.
You know, it's funny. Some of the guides were complaining, "Oh my goodness, we can't catch a fish over 22," and now because they moved the slot limit to 15 to 20, they can't catch a fish under 20. They're all
Yeah.
over. So, is that a problem? I mean, really.
Not with me. I mean, last time
The trout are either 14 inches or 21.
with the girls and stuff, it's difficult for me to get out and really go run the flats like I used to. But last time I was out, I caught a 28 incher, and we were having that problem. We were having problems getting slot fish, which we weren't complaining about. I thought it was outstanding, but it goes to show you just how much pressure is on the Laguna with regulations as far as fish
Right.
goes. And shows me at least that that's evidence to me that conservation works.
Right.
And conservation in action is
Right.
a wonderful way to keep a fishery.
And so they catch 50% of the fish out of the Laguna, out of the upper Laguna, every year.
Yeah.
There's that much changeover. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
Right
and if you, I mean, look at it from a farming perspective. You know, I hate the word sustainability because it's so trite and contrived these days, but that really does kind of play with as far as managing a fishery or a deer population for that matter.
Right. So, but what about the gerbil farmers?
Yeah, well, the San Fernando gerbil farmers, they're really worried. They're trying to recover. I mean, they haven't seen. Well, if the desal plant really goes through, it might be that much worse because they haven't seen devastation of that magnitude since the Great Chipmunk Fire of '79.
I talked to
You
someone
know.
from Argentina, and you know, in Ecuador, they eat the guinea pigs.
Yeah,
And
my
if you've ever
goodness.
eaten one, they're actually quite good.
They
plump.
they are good.
They're, you know, you've eaten one.
I've
Lily?
been.
Yeah.
I ate them in Peru. Yes.
Well, when you're in Rome, do as Romans do. So I had to eat one of these roasted guinea pigs. Then they cook it with the head on,
Oh
which
my
I
goodness.
wasn't really. I didn't really like
So
that
do you
part.
like
but
the jowl meat, like barbacoa?
well, my grandmother
Guinea
used to
pig
do that with
barbacoa.
Nutris. She
You
would.
will only hear this on Island Moon.
My grandmother would tell me when you shoot those smaller nutria, bring them home, and she would skin them, and then she would sit out by the river, and she would pick it with a little cocktail fork. She'd cook the head
Cocktail
and
fork.
pick
Yeah.
the meat off like.
I have
you
one
know,
in my purse.
Yeah, a cocktail,
I'm not kidding.
a cocktail fork.
Or a
Yes!
nutria, yeah.
No, nutria.
A
It's
nutria.
over there.
I haven't seen a nutria in years.
Well, this is up by Gonzales and the
Oh man,
another river, but
Yeah,
We're just on the Gronk.
I have seen them on my ranch in Cal Island. Nutria.
Okay, yeah, that's the farthest
and I've
south
seen
I've ever
alligators
seen
and nutria in the same
Here's my
pond.
proof.
Oh
There
my
is a
gosh, she
cocktail
does.
fork in
I
the
can't
purse.
make it up.
Well, you never know when a shrimp boil breaks out.
Yeah,
Or when you need a can of
In
tuna.
these parts.
she has a can of tuna in her purse too.
This show's only 7 to 9. I don't think we'll need a break for refreshment.
You know, my wife carries a big purse when we travel, and inside that purse is more snacks than I've ever seen in my life. And I always tell people that if this plane goes down, you keep sight of that woman right there because she's going to save
She's
our
gonna
life. She's
save
got enough food to live about a week on what's in that big bag of hers.
Oh my goodness. Oh, good grief. Yes, thank her very much for the charcuterie board yesterday while we were meeting for the area development plan subcommittee meeting. So, I don't know
And we
if
had some
wanna-
good topics we talked about, and one of them goes to island here is that Encantada culverts that keep getting clogged up.
And we will
And-
talk about that
Yes.
several
In-
times. but
Encantada is on the menu. We've got
what else on the menu today, Jacob?
we're talking about Muddle and Puddle. We had some great work done with
Oh,
Muddle and Puddle. For
Muddle
those who are
and Puddle.
unaware, and our friends out in Radioland, Muddle and Puddle are the areas underneath the either landing of the JFK Causeway here on the island. And I guess is that technically the bluff?
What? The bluff?
Part of the cause, or is it just part of the
No.
causeway?
No, that's on the island.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
you're over the ICW. You're
Both-
on the island. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
Well, what
that
he's
side.
saying is on the other side. No,
Yeah.
I claim
Oh,
that
yeah.
too. I think the island
Yeah.
claims that as
Yeah,
well.
that's the causeway. Yeah.
Okay,
It's an
still on
island,
the
so
cause.
we'll
Well, it's
claim it.
TxDOT property.
What?
right?
And there is actually a boat ramp over there
Right.
that we used to use. That was Red Dot
Yeah.
over there that was that's now Causeway, run by Cost.
And what was that, Charlie's or something that was over there that burned?
The old JFK.
No, right. It was right here. This building was right
Yeah,
there.
That was the
Yeah.
JFK Inn or whatever it was.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
It burned.
Yeah, we had some photos of that in an edition of the moon, which actually, speaking of issues of the moon, they should be hitting the stands later today. Issue 1111 is out.
1111. Make a
Yes.
wish.
Oh, I remember.
Nice.
I remember it. Man, I was telling Dale yesterday. It seemed like 3 days ago we put out issue 1000.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like golly, it fires up quick, doesn't it?
I know. And then I turned in article 765 yesterday.
Yeah. Wow.
Which plus Mosso Menos, I'm probably pushing 800.
I know. We'll have to throw
Well,
a
it
little.
used to be called Birds and Beach Bits.
Yes,
So,
from
yeah.
back in the day. No, we'll have to
I
do.
I don't know where I came up with that title. It
We'll
was
have to do a
Birds and
special
Beach
event
Bits.
and have a bunch of friends and guests and everybody show up. Probably do something here, rent out the water line and throw a little island moon party. I think that'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just get in contact with a lot of people. There's even a bunch of people that used to write articles and columns and things for the moon.
Yeah.
That we need to keep back in touch with because so many things are happening. Sorry, it's like I always say, it's like a monkey with a machine gun with topics right here.
Which is us right now.
I was going to
yeah,
ask you, what are the rest of
Squirrel
the topics
cage.
we've got?
But we're while we're here, I do want to
right.
well, let's get started on Muddle and Puddle because Jay, you told me a while ago that there was money set aside. How long ago was the money set aside, and how much?
Okay, so Muddle and Puddle actually goes back to 1950s when they built it. So this whole area was built out of dredge material from the ICW that we're standing next to or sitting next to, and so it's hard to call it a wetland, right? But back in 2011, Jeff Edmonds, current city engineer, and I did we redid the boat ramps for Clemson and Billings there, and so I actually got a jurisdictional determination from the Army Corps of Engineers that said the area underneath the causeway was non-jurisdictional. That's 2011. So as we move forward, Bond 2018, the voters actually said, we want to do this project. ISAC had been working on it and said, we need to fill in these areas underneath causeway because when Ma and Pa Kettle come over from Annaville and they're driving around underneath the causeway at night, and their water's up a little bit, you get off the side of that road, boop, you're stuck, right? And plus, it's a lot of good area. People park underneath the causeway. Come on, let's just improve it. So rewind to about 4 years ago. They actually hired a different consultant to go in and get the same answer, that it is not jurisdictional wetlands. It's just a puddle and muddle, right?
Yeah.
Well, that consultant didn't like the answer that they got. So they decided to do it again. So the third time, Army Corps of Engineers come back, says it's non-jurisdictional, do what you want underneath there. Come on. The voters, Bond 2018, coming soon in 2019.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's all green lights now. And so, we just drove by there. There's trailers parked in a puddle right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
No reason.
and
Are you
big-
sure it's not a wetland jurisdictionally?
Yeah, we're going to do another
Third
study.
time.
Let's do another
Exactly.
study.
Third time.
And big up to Dan Suckley, our previous city councilman, for getting a lot of work done with TxDOT and getting the process started, working with getting some lighting and stuff out there. I know it's nowhere near where it needs to be.
Restarted for the third time.
Well,
yes,
and you
exactly.
I think we even had it in the paper. You sent the drawings in of the parking spaces, things designed, like it's already been
Come on.
basically planned, right?
So, whoever is against it this round is going to get roasted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whoever
Yeah.
stands up and says, "Oh no, we can't do that," roasted.
Yeah.
So if
under
you're
the-
out there in Radio Land and you're against filling in Muddle and Puddle,
It's under the bridge.
Roasted.
The other thing is this big water area over here that all they need to do is get a little culvert or jet a culvert underneath there.
Yeah.
And drain it so it's not just this big old mucky thing over there all the time.
I know, and you're right. And for those of you in Radio Land, we're
It's on the
pointing,
west side of the
we're
bridge.
pointing to the west side of the road. That's been filled in. That's drivable.
Yeah, some of it has been filled in.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness!
And they
so why
have the-
can't we do it on this
They
side?
have the material
Yeah.
on other projects, and this is what bothers me about government, and whether it's the city or the TxDOT or whatever, you have so much material available in some of your projects you bid, and yet you have certain areas that need some material, and you can't figure out that you need to it needs to be a win-win situation.
Just move it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to
So
put
we-
it somewhere. Put it where it's advantageous.
Put it where it's needed. You could use it,
We
and then
had-
you could pick it back up and like millings, asphalt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Move it.
Well, when we did the parking lot, and you guys were
which
working
parking
on this
lot?
parking lot over at Market 37.
Okay.
At the same time, they were working over here at the boat ramps, building these 2 boat ramps, which I
Yeah.
thought was crazy because they built a boat ramp with 4 places for handicapped people
We
to
had
get on.
we had to do
I know,
that.
I
We had to
understand,
do
but
that.
I'm just saying how ridiculous that is as a taxpayer to see that happen.
I know.
So
I know.
they were going to be wider. They had to make them narrower because they need the thing. As if we were going to load 4 people with wheelchairs all at the same time into boats. I don't know how many you see there,
we
but when
had
we
to-
did the Wounded Warriors,
You know we had to
we
do
built
that,
a ramp
yeah.
over at Market 37. But even then, when we got a whole bunch of people at one time, we still had no problem with one ramp.
Right.
And so we thought we were going to get these great boat ramps, and they are good. But then they built a parking lot. And when it was all said and done, and all the different agencies fought each other forever, and you got to
know.
remember this,
I
because they
know.
all
It
have
was
their
alphabet
territory,
soup.
and they want to act like,
Bro.
well, I'm the most important person here. So this went on and on and on. Meanwhile, the guy that's doing the repaving here, Clark, he's got to put these cuttings somewhere before he moves them because they belong to TxDOT. So instead of TxDOT thinking, well, let's just put them right over there,
Yeah.
I come and say, why don't you store them during the winter when nothing's going on in Market 37?
Yeah, right.
And why don't
You
you
could-
put? I'm going to tell you where I want the piles
You
to
could
go.
store 'em
And
in
he
my
put-
parking
he
lot.
Put, you store them in my parking lot, and they put all these piles in there. When you pick them up, you can't pick it all up, or you tear up my parking lot.
So
they
you
leave
just-
about
you
three
just went
or
down.
4 inches of cuttings all over my parking lot, and I got my parking lot paved for free, and it was better than a parking lot across the street with the limestone.
And I won't. You didn't charge him very much for storage either, did
No,
you?
you charged him nothing for storage, but I did tell him where I wanted them.
Yeah.
Well, we got what is it, $1.2 million in 2018 to fix that area.
Yeah.
How much money do we have left, and what can we do with it?
That is a good question. Yeah, we'll have to look up city engineering for that and figure out how much the consultants ate up on
Right
getting
now it's
another
about-
jurisdictional
Yeah.
determination.
Too many consultants.
But we got the jurisdiction.
Again, third
Right.
time.
For the
3
third
times.
time.
Third time.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, there'll be at least $20 left in that pot.
20, 30 bucks. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, we've got
We can get a bucket of minnows.
a very,
We
a very
yeah.
knowledgeable
Look at the minnows.
crew here at the table here at Doc's Seafood and Steaks on
Oh, yeah,
Island Moon
set the
Thursday.
table, yeah.
Charlie Zahn, Greg Smith, Dr. Brian Gully, Jay Gardner. We got editor, publisher of the Island Moon, Dale Rankin, and my name is Jacob Oggs. We are glad you're with us. We're also streaming live on YouTube, so we'd love to I'll jump over and check out
Parade
Island
wave.
Moon Live, where we'll have archival episodes of the radio shows and our conversations with our guests and all the other kind of fun and goings-on events and things that are coming up on the island. And it's just a whole lot of fun. So jump over there, subscribe to the channel, and turn that little bell notification on so you can get alerted when we drop new content, and you can stay up to date on what's going on North Padre Island and the Coastal Bend.
We shot our
I
first
rehearsed
video
that like
this week.
4 times. Did it sound okay?
Yeah, we shot our first video this week. So, but before we move off of ISAC, I want to. You talked about Encantada. Also, there was some changes this week on potential funding for a island skate park.
Yes.
Absolutely. So
What's changed?
It's something we're trying to move up. We keep trying to move it up on the list, the order, and pretty much everyone wants it in Billish Park because that's central to everybody on the island, and it's a huge park, and it's got plenty of room.
Well,
So then it comes down to the
Is
money.
the POA leasing Billish from the city?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they were.
So they-
I
yeah.
was
So
thinking
well, you
the other way
correct-
So
around.
so I'm trying to figure out who's got control of the park. Is it? I mean, I know it's a city park technically, but
Well,
is it-
there's city. There's a contract between the POA and the city. I went through it yesterday, and it spells out certain things that the POA agrees to do. If the city takes it over, what they told the POA back in, I think it was 2017, they'll mow the grass, but they won't trim the palm trees. And so the POA, that's not what they do. And so the POA stepped into that and took that part of it over, the trimming the hedges, irrigating, all of that
Putting
stuff.
irrigation system in and giving it a higher level of maintenance than what the standard city maintenance is. And like Jay was saying, it's a big park. on there, so it's got plenty of room. Now, there are negotiations ongoing on that.
Yeah.
I got a call actually a couple of weeks ago from the Parks Department. Hey, what's the history on
Oh
this?
yeah, I think you and
I
I
looked
got
up
the
a
same
copy of the
call
lease.
actually.
Yeah.
And it's spelled out in there. There's about 10 things that
Yeah.
the city agrees to do and the POA agrees to do. And I went to the POA meeting this past, the latest one they had. They're moving forward with irrigation wells. They're gonna poke holes in the ground and bring water up.
Right there,
Yeah.
that's cheaper than when Craig Thompson and I designed that irrigation system for Billish Park. We actually designed it where it could accept the effluent water that we've got cranked back up on the
Right.
island. There's a Christmas tree there at Gypsy and Whitecap, but we figured out that it would be about $400,000 to run a line over to that irrigation system.
I think we need a study.
Oh, yes. Oh, more consultants, exactly. But then they figured out they could put in wells for around $10,000 a pop. But then you got to put a pressure tank. And all
Why
that
does a
noise.
well cost $10,000? I drill them myself in my yard, and they're
It's
not that deep.
Well, it's mainly a larger pipe and the infrastructure that goes with
Okay,
it.
right.
The
And the
pressure
consultant.
tanks.
No,
and the
that makes
screens
sense.
If
and
you
the
pump enough
consultant,
water out of the ground will sink, and then you have a pond, and that's kind of cool.
Yes, and then you don't have to water it.
Yeah.
As much.
Well, that's why we have housing spread out on the island, so not everybody gets on one side and we tip over. Yeah.
So there is some money available for a skate park that's being saved from some other projects.
Well,
We think we found it last night.
Yeah, well, we found it exactly. That it really depends on public will, but that comes from de-scoping a couple of projects. The Aquarius Aqueduct cut through over here, that was about $1 million. The agencies didn't like that. It was already dog-eared. It was
Right.
already in the TERS number 2. That's come down, and then the de-scoping of the Encantada Bridge, and if those of you out there in Radio Land, Greg is wincing in pain right now.
Yes.
Because Greg really wanted that bridge at Encantada. And as we really dug into it, we would probably have to buy 2 people's lots out because of the limited site and the width that we have to go through. So that's been de-scoped to culverts, and then there's ongoing negotiations because there's dredging that's got to occur.
And that's the POA.
And that's
POA.
the
So
POA.
so it boils down to 2 options.
So
One of them,
there's
leave the ones we
money.
have, clean them out, but and the other is put 9-foot box culverts
Yeah.
in there,
Uh-huh.
which you actually could probably carefully kayak through if you wanted to, but that's not the issue. It's the
Or-
fact it moves a lot more water.
Or a Hell's
But
Bay
the
or a
issue
Maverick or
is the
something,
dredging,
yeah.
because you can build all the culverts you want, and if the sand level on both sides
Right.
is higher than the culverts, then they're going to find their way in the
So
Well,
there's
up
some
to the
money out of
street.
that project that can go to the skate park. There's also
or other projects, correct?
the
Yes.
the paving of Crow's Nest Street down on south of Whitecap. There's some wetlands issues, so that's delayed for a while. Is that right?
and or north of. Remember,
Nor-
Crow's Nest goes on both sides of
Right.
Whitecap. So
North is ready to go. I think there's no wetlands at that side. And
I've
then-
yet to look at that one, at that segment of it.
But
But,
the-
either one of those is going to spur more development because they don't have infrastructure. If you don't have a road or
Yeah.
water or sanitary to a lot, I mean that was the definition of the
Well,
TERS, right?
Well, we got at North Crow's Nest. There's utilities on one end, and there's utilities at Whitecap.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's just a matter of connecting the 2.
Right.
So you have 2 or 3 projects that are either de-scoped or delayed, but somehow there's money available that can be put
2.7.
into a skate park. Will the skate park go at Commodore's as part of Phase 1 or Phase 2, or will it stay at Billish?
Good question.
we-
Don't know.
Generally, we'd like to see it at Billish. That's what I hear from almost everyone.
You
they
know, I'm
want to
just
put it at
thinking
Billish,
about
but
noise and traffic.
Or which
and
is
all
the
that.
quickest?
They're in uplands. You don't have to get an Army
It does-
Corps of Engineers permit, so go ahead.
I think the
Go, 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 go.
TERS
I think it's
committee
gonna
could probably decide on it pretty quick. Now that we have the money, they could just make that call if the negotiations with the POA all are seamless. But I think here's the other thing: is the complaints about Commodores is the neighbors that live there saying,
Yeah.
"Why are you building a park in our neighborhood? And parking would be an issue, and all these kids running around it."
Yeah.
If you put it in Billish, well, there've been kids running around Billish since it was built, and it's a
park.
huge park.
Isn't that what
and there's
parks are
plenty-
for?
That's right. And so,
But, you don't want
but-
these heathens running around. in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
park.
what about making noise? Well, but the biggest park out there is Commodore's Park. It's 17 acres. Billish is 4. But
Yeah.
I
Is it
agree
really?
with you
Yeah.
on there.
Because it's already there. It's already been
yeah.
there for a long time, and there's plenty of parking around the
Yeah.
perimeter.
So
of
it's
that thing.
it's going to come down to public sentiment. It's got to be a rising tide of public sentiment, whether it goes at Commodores or Billish, and the neighbors fight it or not.
But the change is
Right.
there's funding.
Yes.
There is potential funding on the table. Yes.
So my next question yesterday that I forgot to ask, or I got distracted, is how much now do we
Squirrels.
think it's going to cost? They put down $1 million, but I know the earlier estimates were less than that.
So in the valley, they're putting them in for about $650.
Yeah,
Well, you
I
could
So
mean,
ex-
that'd be about 1.5 then.
Right.
yeah.
Get the same people that are building
Coming
the,
soon
the
in
desal
Bond
plant.
2019.
I'm saying 1.2 billion by the time it's over with.
But they said
And we're talking time. And okay, Commodore's Park. I was working on Commodore's Park. We had another city council member after I am, and we're on the third one. And there was
Right.
still, the money was there, the drive was there, everything else was
Right.
there except get her done.
right. Well, so at this point, it's a question of location. I guess is there was talk of using the design from West Guth Park and adapting that. Wouldn't that cut down the time and expense?
Right. So there are 3 operations that run around the country, and they're just turnkey. So they just build them.
So
It's
bid it.
great.
So bid of those 3, that
Yeah.
if they want to bid it, and pick one, and don't reinvent a skate park.
It's pretty simple. Yeah.
Well, I mean, concrete and shade. That's the 2 things that you can never go wrong with on a park on the island.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
that's where all of that is. The other thing I wanted to touch on, the seawall work is still ongoing, right?
Yes, we've got the dune protection permit, and we got the beachfront construction certificate, and we are working on the Army Corps of Engineers permit because we have to put heavy equipment on the beach.
Are there parking permits for all of that equipment?
Yes, and so
Get out there and write them tickets.
Yeah, no, the contractors will have to get parking permits for that, sure. So, but we're having to consult with National Marine Fisheries on giant manta rays and nesting sea
Are they going to drive that equipment into the water with those manta rays, or what?
I know,
Because
right?
they come,
That's
they
how
come
you
through
raise
here.
them. It's
All
just
it
where-
takes
where
is-
the bucket
Where do the
truck-
manta rays and the equipment
All it
coexist? I
takes
don't
is
know.
one cowboy.
The manta rays seem to come in. I can't remember if it was October or the other season, but in the cooler water
Yeah,
in the old days, and they will come into the surf,
they will. Yeah.
eating the jellyfish.
Yes.
And that's what they do. But they rarely interfere with front end loaders and stuff like
I
that.
know, with concrete trucks at the
Front end
seawall.
loaders rarely interfere with that. So we've got to get this permit, though, every single day of the year. We've got this giant equipment out there maintaining the beach.
Right.
Oh, I know, and I should,
That's
so
what I was thinking,
So the
Greg.
city of Corpus Christi has a biological opinion that they have to go through for their beach maintenance activities,
Yeah.
right? They've already got that, and so I asked the Corps of Engineers and U.S. Fish and Wildlife. I'm like, can we just not? Because we have the exact same equipment on the beach in the same area. Why can't we just expand that BO? Oh no, it's a different purpose and need. So we're going through. Oh, let's
Everybody's got to be on their existence on the payroll is in
Let's
peril.
reinvent the wheel. Yes.
That's what I was
Do we
speaking
make
about
the wheel
earlier. We
square
can't
or
get out of our
round?
own way.
I know. It's so annoying.
Red
So
tape
that's
and
where.
rules.
So
But
those are
it's
the.
it's moving forward. It's being phased. So design and all that. It's moving forward.
So those are the primary changes that we're seeing, and we don't have an ISAC meeting this month.
We're going to try to have one. We
yeah.
met
They're
about
trying to
that
move
too.
it
I don't-
downtown permanently.
Well,
It was-
and I don't, and we don't like that. And we missed last meeting because we didn't have a quorum.
well, we had a meeting.
We had a meeting, but
You
it was an
weren't
unofficial
there.
meeting.
I was there.
I was part of the reason we didn't
And
have a
a
quorum.
single.
But I was told earlier that it was the following week, and then I never got an email otherwise. So I could have been there, but I didn't know about it. So,
So we're trying to get them back on the island.
yeah, that's where it's been meeting for Greg. How long?
Yeah.
Since its very existence,
Well, we have
it's always been
the
on the island.
current chair and two
Around,
Right.
208.
former chairs.
All
yeah.
three of us are chairs or former chair of ISAC, so we kind of know what we're talking
Yeah.
about. It's always
I
been
didn't
there.
let it go off the island. And you didn't
Well,
either.
No, I did not. Absolutely
okay, we
not.
lost the building. They had to work on the building at the school,
Right. Yeah.
and
that was the problem.
and we moved it over there, thinking it was for one meeting. Next thing you know, it's the next meeting. I'm thinking they must be still working on the cafeteria. Well,
Yeah.
Meeting
apparently they
space
stopped
on the
working on the
island.
cafeteria.
Yeah.
it was not the reason. And so then I think it was Heather that texted me and said, well, it's supposed to meet all, and you can help me with this, Greg, is all these committees are supposed to meet closest to the city staff, which of
Oh,
course city.
BS! Come on, like we said,
Okay.
we
I don't think that's true, and because we've always met on the island. It's
Right.
an
well,
island
the
committee.
airport board meets at the airport, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
There- I'm
Ted
so glad.
Mandel,
Hello.
Yeah,
They're
Ted
waiting on a
Mandel
flight
goes-
to Denver.
Yeah.
So-
yeah, still
Yeah.
waiting. Or Mexico
Monterey.
City
Mexico
or Monterey.
City.
Yeah.
So I will
Jeez.
reconfirm with them today that we're going to have a meeting next week, and just because there's no quorum last week doesn't mean there won't be a quorum.
It's
next
probably
week.
easier to get a
So
quorum when you're on the island.
It's
right?
going to be much easier. But here's the other thing: we have people that like to sit in on those meetings and hear what's going on.
Yeah.
and they're not going to drive downtown
Yeah.
to
me,
do that.
me
We
being
also
one,
have
I do
people-
it, but I'd prefer not to.
We have
And your
we
name
have
came up yesterday.
we have public
in
comment.
vain.
And the public comment is not going to. We don't have. I think we've had 2 public comments since we met downtown the last
Yeah.
3 times.
Right.
So they're
Me
not going
and
to.
Dan
You know, it's,
Grimsbow.
yeah. And Dan
Actually,
comes to
I'm an
me.
ex officio on that still from the Parks and Recs, so
You are.
I'm not
You are.
public comment.
Well, all right. It is 7:30, 7:32 actually here on Island Moon Thursdays on Larry Elizondo's Power Hour on KUKA Driscoll 105.9 and 103.3 and Retro Tejano 104.1. So tell you what, we are going to take a quick break and hear from a sponsor or two, and we will be right back.
We need water. Water for our gardens, our dog's bowl, water for hot showers after a long day, water to drink, live, and thrive. Which is why the Inner Harbor Water Treatment Campus is bringing Corpus Christi a proven drought solution, one that promotes healthy bays and keeps taps flowing with an extra 30 million gallons of water a day, so that your cup stays full in every single way. Learn more at sustainablewater.corpuschristitx.gov.
Are you ready to make your dream home a reality? Meet Miss Mortgage, Jenny Staff from All Western Mortgage. With over 30 years of experience in banking, mortgages, and real estate literacy, Jenny is your trusted partner from application to closing day. Known throughout the community as Ms. Mortgage, she specializes in residential real estate loans, making the process simple and stress-free. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking for alternative income loan options, Jenny provides clear, honest advice with no confusing jargon, just real solutions tailored to your goals. Tune in to her weekly Ms. Mortgage updates for insider tips, real estate trends, and success stories that inspire. She's committed to educating and empowering her clients every step of the way. Jenny Staff, your advocate, your expert, your teammate from dream to done. Call or visit All Western Mortgage today and ask for Miss Mortgage, Jenny Staff. Call now, 361-946-7163. 595-176 NMLS number. They are an equal home lender.
At the Port of Corpus Christi, we maintain a clear pathway for waterway commerce so that our customers can deliver goods and energy products to the communities who depend on them around the world. We work diligently to build and enhance critical maritime infrastructure and manage traffic 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Thank you, Coastal Bend Region, for entrusting us with your most precious asset.
Hello, Corpus Christi. I'm Melissa Gosser with the Corpus Christi Police Department's Crime Reduction Unit with the following update. Operation Safe Return's 14th annual Back to Basics is back at the American Bank Center on Saturday, August the 2nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Parking is free and so is admission. We will have free school supplies for all school-age students, and the children must be present to receive a backpack with school supplies. Over 100 vendors will be giving out educational, nutritional, health, and safety information for all attendees. Sport physicals and vaccines are also available. Donations are greatly welcome. This event is entirely funded on donations and sponsorships. For more information, call the Crime Reduction Office at 361-886-2765.
Since 1966, Hicks Automotive Group in Corpus Christi has been your trusted family-owned dealership, offering the finest in Mercedes-Benz, Nissan, Subaru, and Infiniti vehicles. Commitment to our customers extends beyond offering superior quality luxury automobiles and service. Hicks Automotive Group proudly supports our community through contributions to the Coastal Bend Food Bank, Texas A&M University Corpus Christi, and Ronald McDonald House, just to name a few. Visit Hicks Automotive Group, 3102 SPID, and experience the excellence that has kept our community strong for over 60 years. Hicks Automotive Group since 1966.
Time is running out for the Hook'em Book'em Fishing Tournament. The captain's meeting is August 1st from 5 to 10 p.m. at Doc's Seafood and Steaks. Launch is August 2nd. For more information, go to CorpusChristiPOA.net or call 361-882-2762.
Shining bright in Texas, the National Blue Ribbon School District of the Year, Corpus Christi ISD, is reaching some new heights. We are proud to be the HEB Excellence in Education Best District of the Year and home to the U.S. News and World Report's Best Public Elementary School. Excellence in early childhood education is our commitment, with our accolades from pre-K through graduation. Thanks to our community, we are building future leaders, innovators, and pioneers with nearly $20 million in scholarships in 2024 alone. And since 2008, $1 billion in taxpayer-approved bond packages, making for a renaissance era of education in CCISD with 20 new school buildings and 24 new elementary school libraries, all focused on student success. Join us in celebrating a century of education excellence. Corpus Christi Independent School District, where every learner is a graduate and every graduate is a success.
And we are right on back. Yes, that was our friend Eric Von Wade.
So back to the new access roads. You guys finish your conversation here. So Port A, beach access roads.
Under construction.
Under construction.
Two of them.
Okay, Port A is building theirs. Corpus is still fast track Corpus Christi on there.
We got a
I
study.
got the original
Coming
bond
soon in
money.
2019, yes.
Yeah,
2018
done
actually,
for
yes.
on there. Isn't quite ready yet, but
As soon as we get the latest study done, well, then we're going to be ready.
well, no. We're actually waiting for the study of the studies because the city doesn't do anything until they study all the studies.
Gotcha. We got
So
a study
the-
for the study.
I've heard about this access road for about 4 or 5 years, and
Yeah.
I was kind of shocked the other day when
Yeah.
I drove by and I saw somebody absolutely taking down a dune near the beach, and that's a no-no.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And I couldn't figure it out, and then all of a sudden it hit me. That's the new road.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can
So
tell
there's
it's
one on the
that.
Port A side and one on the Corpus side.
And this is the Port A side.
Right.
Yeah.
So where exactly are they going from Corpus to Port A? Where placement-wise will they be?
Okay, so Charlie and I, who drive it every day, were discussing Cinnamon Shores. So we're north, south, east, west. So we're okay with Cinnamon Shores. It's just whether it's the north one or south one. I'm saying it's,
Right,
it's
Cinnamon
south
Shores,
of the
south
north,
and
and
north.
Charlie's saying it's north of
So
the
they're
south.
gonna. We need a Cinnamon Shore intermediate.
Yeah.
So, but the city of Corpus Christi is going to be just south of Port Royal in that area. So, and what are they going to call that? 2A?
I think it's already permitted, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been
yeah.
permitted.
Uh-huh.
Well, shoot. Yeah, it's permitting. Yeah, good grief.
That one is gonna. We need that one because there's about 6 or 7 miles of beach in there that doesn't get used much because you can't get to
7 1/4, and Greg
7
will tell
1/4.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
Greg and I flew that on the 4th of July
Yeah.
about 10 years ago, and it was jam-packed. And then you get south of that road, and it's nothing but sand crabs and seagulls.
Mustang Desert on there. But so the Port A will change that dynamic between those two access roads and cut that down, that 7 1/4 miles, probably down to 5 1/2 or so.
Well, it's 3 1/4. Yeah. Get up. Yeah.
And Charlie, you mentioned that it's been a busy season in Port A.
Yeah, I was really shocked 2 weeks ago. I couldn't believe the number of people, and we talked to the head of the chamber, and he said we had a weekend that surpassed the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Really, a weekend beat the 4th of July.
Right. And
Wow.
I know in talking to the management teams, they still say in August that the weekends are going to be full, but it's not so good during the week because of the early school start date.
Well, I got numbers from the city this week on the cars coming over the causeway for the July 7th weekend after July 4th, and it was about 25,000 one way, so
One way.
50,000, which is about normal for a summer weekend, maybe a little low even. But out of that number, about 60% turns north at the intersection, right?
Right.
Yeah. And we're seeing a softening this week. The weekday type, so this early school start date is just a killer in August.
That really determines our 100-day season is school.
Right.
It's no longer 100. And like Charlie's saying, what I saw for our park on there was last weekend, the weekend before, were 4th of July
They were.
size weekends.
1,000 cars you said you counted?
But when you
Yeah.
take into effect that most schools are starting the 11th, 12th, 13th of July, and UIL allows them to back up 2 weeks and start cross-country football, band,
right,
and whatever.
yeah.
So, people that are going to come to the coastal bend as tourists with children are going to have to either come in June or July or wait till next year.
Wow, that's right. Well, I know Ted Mendel and I were talking. He was saying we're about 3 weeks away from college football firing up.
We are.
And so, I mean, the kids should be back on doing two-a-days before too long.
They
They
are.
are. They already are.
Colleges went in this
yeah.
week.
I drove Port A. I was driving in Corpus the other day and see these cross-country kids out already working out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The college football teams are back. They're in camp as of this week, and at least the ones that
ones
don't
that matter?
transfer.
Yeah.
That are trying. Yeah.
The
Well, we
checks
had-
are being written.
Brent Chesney was here last week. He said TCU's kicking off in Ireland, I believe he said.
Yeah.
UT is going to Columbus to play Ohio State, and my Texas State Bobcats will be in the Pac-12 next year. So college football is exciting. There's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a
right
lot
now.
happening, yeah.
It's like the pros, only with younger guys.
Anyway.
Same amount of money.
Yeah, pretty close.
Well, no, back when they first started this kind of, not necessarily called pay to play, but the whole funding the students program thing, I was talking, we had Dotson on the show, and I was asking him, who do you think is going to be, or how long until we have the first collegiate player that retires and gets to have his knees when he's 60? Because you can leave college. Some of these guys are going to leave college with 50, 60 million. With between endorsements and everything, and they don't have to go pro.
Yeah.
They can just say, I'll get into coaching or start other businesses, and
I thought about
You're
that.
barely 20 years old. Who the heck wants to start another business or
Right.
anything?
But-
You're going to burn through that $50 million.
I think though one of the reasons those guys got to that elite level though is they've got to have that competitive
drive for the
nature.
game. Yeah,
and
very
I
true,
think
yeah.
that despite the money, they're not 100% in it for the money. Or a lot of these pro players would have made big money and then walked away
Yeah.
before they got hurt. But they're
Well,
competitive. That's what got them there.
We got a new state law as of this last session where a 17-year-old kid in Texas can now take NIL money, which as Barry Switzer calls it, now it's legal. It's and so all of a sudden, you got a kid going into his senior year of high school. The recruiters come calling, and his mama gets a new house.
Yeah.
And, as opposed to in the old days when the coach got a new house and the player got a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I think it's a great time to be watching college football. So,
Anyway,
so this
we
week,
digress.
Yeah.
this week, we have. I wanted to have you guys on this week because DeSal all of a sudden.
No, he said it.
No one. I'm watching from the outside in. I'm trying to keep up. I'm lost.
Okay, here's what developments this week, because things changed this week a
Right.
lot. I went, was it Tuesday? They had the open house for the Alice plant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I
yeah,
went
yeah.
over to that, and
That's great.
That was a great relationship. I talked to Michael Esparza, who's the city manager over there,
Yeah.
and they had a great relationship with Seven Seas, and the project worked out well. And
Sandra
and the
Bowen
amount of
is,
water that I asked them, because I called Charlie yesterday to see if he wanted to come, but we met last night with Mike Culberson, the EDC, and myself as chairman with Seven Seas, because I had questions to ask them. And also I want to say we've got companies that come to this town and says we can't get water.
Right.
We're going to drill our own wells. Well, hold on. Let's not go too rogue on this thing. There's so people are after that vote Tuesday. Okay, so we go to the meeting and we see a good project, almost $1.4 million, that can be expanded about twice that size in Alice. The water's
Well,
coming.
it's
million?
$3 million, isn't it?
It will be,
the
but
contract was for $2.85 million.
but it's phased out, and they've got the room to expand. They're going to drill the other well. There's another well.
Okay, so that's what's
So
on
in
there.
that case, the city of Alice paid to drill the wells.
Yeah.
That's one of the big costs.
Okay.
Seven Seas, this is a partner, that's a private partner, that's
Right.
backed by about $23 billion worth of private equity. And they have a contract, and they deliver the water, and they guarantee the water at this price, this quality, this volume. Okay? And all of this is in the contract. If you do the contract right, you're in good shape. And now it's going to eventually be 3 million gallons. And they interviewed me, and I said, here's the thing. It released 1.4 million gallons that the city does not have to provide that can use customers in this area. So it's a great thing. The problem is it's dumped into San Fernando Creek, which never makes it to the Baffin Bay, really. Now, it hadn't in a long time ever even made anything. But the water. Let's go back to Baffin Bay.
There's a dam on San Fernando right by 77, right? You can see it going down 77. Yeah.
But there's no water. So any estuary bay system or whatever, and we know that Baffin Bay is the saltiest one we have in the state. And it's about 45 parts per thousand.
Yeah, Baffin Bay is one of the Google hypersalinity world, and Baffin Bay will come up, or the Laguna Madre.
Well, they used to harvest salt down there before we made the land cut.
Right.
Well,
So
that's why the Union blockaded the coast here, was the salt trade coming out of Baffin Bay.
And so Lily's sitting over there, and Lily, you correct me if I'm wrong, but you'll hear people quote, well, that's good because that's why those trout, because trout produce more eggs in hypersaline water. Well, that's true, but
it's cyclical,
It's cyclical, and the next paragraph says, but they pretty much all die. So you can't
they
say
produce
one.
a lot.
You can't say one. This goes in this misinformation we've heard for so long about desal projects, all of them, and you got to be honest with everybody. But one thing we do, and I think this is universal, it helps estuaries to have more fresh water in them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so if you have a hypersaline bay, and there are people that believe, scientists, that was Baffin Bay slowly dying, and it needs help, and it needs fresh water inflow. So any project that gets fresher water into Baffin Bay, most scientists consider that's a good thing.
Well, we were talking with Isabel Tiller, who's at a Center for Sportfish and Conservation, and I was asking her if we added more fresh water to Baffin Bay or areas through the San Fernando Creek, would that allow for potentially more tarpon and snook, growth for like tarpon and snook nurseries? And she said, yeah, in theory.
But it's a long way for them to get there.
Yeah.
So there's better places the snook and the tarpon are going to show up.
Yeah.
But that's what they need, and that's what they want, some freshwater inflow.
Yeah.
But in the pristine water of the Inner Harbor location, this week we hit the pause button on $500 million.
Okay, so that was the next
money
development
from the
Tuesday.
Texas Water Board, and the question that was put before the council, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is whether that around $500 million in low-interest loans from the state can be repurposed to another project. Is that correct?
So they've got written questions going to the water board, and they're going to get written answers.
Well, you were there when that money came through, weren't you, Greg?
Well, I was there for the 212, and with it, and I want to tell folks out there that things since I was there have changed dramatically on it. I made the motion back in
no kidding
2018 that the city of Corpus Christi's future water supplies would be drought resistant and affordable. Well, the affordable side of that has been forgotten. And Charlie and I were working on desal in 2014 with it. And since that time, so the city hired Freeze and Nichols, and we've had studies of studies and everything else, studied it ad nauseum. Inner Harbor came out at the best site. And I think it was 2019, it was pre-COVID on there. We had a big powwow of all of our potential options with it. We looked at Dr. Mentz's deal, Evangeline, several desal outfits came in there.
Yeah.
We were working with Port Industries, or now Coastal Bend Industries, whatever they call themselves now, and we'd come upon a price of $3.85 a thousand for water, based on a 20 MGD plant.
Desal water.
Desal water on there, probably from the Inner Harbor, and that would cost add to the cost about $25 million a year. And at that time, Evangeline was coming in there and trying to sell the city water for 30 years on there, 25 MGD, or about 28,000 acre feet. And it was a take-or-pay contract. We all know take-or-pays with it. costs $42 million a year.
Double.
So we're looking at desal. We're looking at that. We looked at coming down from Dimmitt County and all of this, and that was a $50 million take or pay on it with it, and they didn't have permits. But anyway, so that's where we were.
Right.
And this, I tell people, I was helping drive the bus at this time.
Yeah.
And then we have several councils more and lots of yakking and studies. And,
11 years later.
Yeah, well, we come up $750 million.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, so I got out of driving the bus, and I went kind of the back seat on there. And then Evangeline comes through and says, they see they're going nowhere, and they say, okay, well, we'll sell you the water rights. So the city's bought the water rights for Garwood and a long-term deal on Texana and stuff. And with it, and they're yours, because they know they need some money.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That takes that cost down from $42 million down to about $20 million. Then, well, we hired this engineer from Omaha or something else with it, and now we're up to $1.189 billion.
I know. Where did that come from? How did that happen?
The annual cost. Well, it's 30 MG. The annual cost is $100.1 million a year. That's going to go on everybody's rates.
Is that in perpetuity, or is that just for 2 or 3 years, or do we know?
No, it's probably for 25 years. So about 2/3 of that cost is interest payments and stuff. 1/3 of the cost is there. So we're looking. Once that happened, I ran the numbers. Okay, ratepayers, $100 million a year on one side, $20 million a year on the other. I jumped off the bus.
Yeah.
And I'm getting all kinds of heat right now. Greg, you're going to kill the economy, yada, 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 yada with it. And, the internet's going mad and stuff. And I'm just going, affordable, $100 million versus $20 billion. And as we look at the waters, not all water is the same. You can bring on that water much quicker. So, Brian was talking about Seven Seas. They just broke ground on another plant that's supposedly expandable to 30 MGD. But with it, you can bring on that water quicker. The water quality, that's another thing. Look, it's not good water. It's as good as the water that's coming down the Nueces River from the lakes right now. You look at the water quality, they're the same.
Right.
So it's not like it's a water quality. The desal water, people, it's great water.
Yeah.
When you got it. And, okay, then we got future industry and all that. Kind of my deal is they're not going to pay that price. One thing in my talks with industry and going through it, and that's why I put that affordable in there, they're very concerned about the cost. You might have some data center or something willing to pay that kind of money.
Right.
But, and then, we got Harbor Island. We've got this, and going back to Alice on there, that original contract, I don't know where it is now, it was $285 $1,000. Alice provides the well fields on there. They provide the power. And get this, it's a 15-year contract. Seven Seas is paying for all within the fence, all the RO membranes and all the pumps and stuff. Then they transfer it over for $1 or $10 to Alice with it. So all the capital cost outside the well fields.
And people have been doing this for years. Look at Sarita. Look at Baffin Bay Water Supply Company.
Oh, yeah.
These wells have been operating for decades and decades, and suddenly people are like, this is somehow new.
No, it's been done.
Half of the state's water comes from groundwater.
Ground, yeah.
Now we're getting more. El Paso's a great example. Like you just said, we've got others that all of the desal projects in the state, with the exception of a pilot they did down in the valley, are brackish water.
Well, but it's as of this week, and I'm not clear on what the vote taken at City Council does in terms of the future of the Inner Harbor site. But if we don't get that plant, Charlie, you're a water lawyer, you're involved in all these projects. Can we get enough groundwater from other sources to get us through until we come up with something other than the inner city harbor?
That's the question.
I think we can. I think what you're seeing is you're seeing these other municipalities or districts, special districts, that are looking at alternative water sources. I represent people all over there. I represent 7 of those entities right now.
Right.
And they're all looking for the same thing, and that's to get an alternate source of water, because they're not sure that the city is going to do anything but kick the can down the street,
Yeah,
which they did again last week.
Yeah.
And,
Imagine that.
And so, these districts are looking at it, and the concerns. I was cussed at a meeting in Kingsville like I used to get at the port because I represent a water district. But people don't understand that scientists make those decisions. I had a lady get in my face pretty bad a couple of weeks ago, and I just told her, I said, you and I aren't going to make this decision. Scientists are.
Yeah.
And we showed when Brian and I were serving together on the port, we showed on the Harbor Island permits, we went and got the 2 experts in the world, not in the United States. We got the guy out of Australia, the guy out of Saudi Arabia. They're considered the number 1 and number 2 desal experts in the world.
Wow.
And they came in and told the contested case hearing judges, this project is not going to do what the adversaries are saying it's going to do.
In terms of outflow.
In terms of outflow, and what I said when water going into Baffin Bay, I've talked to the scientists. Judge Madrid set up a committee over there to study the results of our scientists and make a recommendation.
Yes.
And I've talked to a couple of the chief scientists for 2 of those organizations, and they think fresh water is an absolute must for Baffin Bay to sustain it in the future.
Okay, so Charlie, you know this already, but the plan for that, and we're talking about that Driscoll project that's on the books, that can go from 3 million to 30 million, and 28 million gallons of that can be offered.
Let me talk about that a minute.
Yes, please.
I represent South Texas Water Authority, and we have a contract that was signed in August of 2024 for 7 Seas to come in and do exactly what Greg was talking about, build and operate a brackish water desalinization plant to sell to us one customer, South Texas Water Authority, 3 million gallons of water a day. Other people other than South Texas Water Authority went to individual members of the city council and suggested that could be a project that could expand to 30 million gallons a day. The 30 million gallons came up because the transmission line for South Texas Water Authority is a 42-inch pipe, and it'll hold 30 million gallons a day. That's where that number came from.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that forced an issue with some members of the city council, and so they directed staff to meet with South Texas Water Authority, come up with a memorandum of understanding in 7 days and a water supply agreement on August the 24th of 2025. South Texas Water Authority, working with 7 Seas, was in the process of doing their test well to determine what needs to be built. There's no plans and specs yet because they don't have all the work done necessary to make certain determinations.
Right.
And I had a meeting with city staff, and I just told them, I said, we cannot meet your August the 24th deadline, period. And so last week we went before council, and so they stopped that deadline, and they're waiting for us, being South Texas Water Authority, to come back. And they wanted all this information right then, the city staff did right then, to do their due diligence and make a decision. And we weren't ready for it yet.
Right.
And that's what caused the problem there. And so now it's
Cart got in front of the horse.
So now it's on hold. We have to go back at the end of September and tell them where we are at South Texas Water Authority. But what I suggested to a couple of council members when they called me was, let South Texas Water Authority and 7 Seas build this plant, get it in operation. The one really good thing about a brackish water desalinization facility is it's scalable. You can add to it. And so you can get your answers once we've got that plant in place and make a determination whether or not it's in the best interest of the city of Corpus Christi to try to get an alternate source of water through that facility that South Texas Water Authority's built.
Right.
And to put the things in perspective for people out there, so 30 million gallons a day. Last year, the city averaged 104 million gallons a day. It's
So
what it
30 million is a
represents.
pretty good whack.
30 million is very material. Another thing, we're pumping right now about 70 million. We have the water rights for about 70 million coming down Mary Roads too.
And that's coming from Texana, which is 97% full right now.
Yeah, somewhere between 97 and 100.
Yeah, right.
That's a big old mud puddle.
I was just going through the city's check register last night, as a matter of fact, and I looked and I saw a check for $2.2 million for Formosa Plastic for water, and I'm going
For water, that's in the memo line. Water.
yeah, for water. But I'm thinking to myself, and I've spent a lot of time working on Mary Roads pipeline on there.
Yes, you did.
I don't think we have the capacity to pump that. So the question, if I was on council, I said, okay, we wrote them a check for $2.2 million. Can we take it, or is that?
Are we leaving that on the table?
Are we leaving it? And another thing out there, folks, this is kind of a manufactured problem. So what happened? Mary Roads 2, when it was finished in 2017, when Charlie and I were working on DSAL in 2014, they were talking about Mary Roads 2. Mary Roads 2 brought in 35,000 acre feet of water. 32 million gallons a day is the equivalent on it.
Mm-hmm.
We never really pumped it. So since the time it opened in 2017, and when I was sitting on council, the staff would come there and they call it your safe yield and firm yield, how much water you have to sell. And you go through all these complications, and the engineers, it's done out of Austin and stuff, and is it HDR? You got Christie, some specialist that does this.
Right.
They're saying, well, you got two things, safe yield and firm yield. And it's 150 million gallons a day. Okay, so here comes Exxon on there, and they want 12. Sure, we're adding 32 million. Here comes Steel Dynamics. They want 5. No problem on there. Take or pays and this kind of stuff. 17. We still got plenty of room.
Right.
Well, later on, I get going through this study, and the study is predicated on us pumping Mary Roads first to maximum, which we never did. So
it would blow out.
They're pumping it now. Finally. So what happened?
We corpused it up.
Yeah. So we've got this extra volume. It's dry. We got a drought going on. Nothing like that. But we're just on that pipeline. We're not pumping it like we're supposed to. And folks, our capacity right now, our lake levels would be 30%. If in 2020, when I wrote the city manager and the mayor a letter, why the heck are we not pumping Mary Roads to capacity?
And what was the answer?
Silence.
I don't know.
In 22, we're back going in there, and I'm pushing it, and then you call them schedule 2, schedule 3, schedule 4. So fourth is the 70 million gallons a day.
Sure.
So they bump it up to schedule 3 on there, and they have a leak. Okay, you have a pipeline that's sitting there on there, and you haven't run it at that pressure. So they have a leak on there. Oh no, the sky's falling with it. We can't do it. The pipeline is only half of its age with it, so they take it back down to that lower 44 million gallons a day.
Well, before we get too crazy, I do want to let you know that you were listening to KUKA, Driscoll, Texas.
Top of the hour, yeah.
Retro Country, Corpus Christi. We are 105.9 and 103.3, and also on Retro Tejano. Buenos dias, my friends. 104.1. This is Larry Elizondo's Power Hour. My name is not Larry Elizondo. I'm Jacob Oggs. Larry will be probably jumping in back on tomorrow with you. We are live out at Doc's Steaks and Seafood for Island Moon Thursday.
Beautiful morning.
We are, yes, it's actually quite lovely out here. A little cloud cover and a nice little breeze.
Humidity's low, yeah.
I know, yeah. We've got a table full of special guests. Jay Gardner, Dr. Brian Goley, Greg Smith, Charlie Zahn, Dale Rankin. There's a Nick Meyer sighting in the background. We got
Nick.
Ted Mendel with us. And we're also streaming live on YouTube, so hello to all our friends out there. And just letting you guys know where you are. We're glad you, if you don't get a chance to listen to all the show, you can go back on Island Moon Live and watch the show on YouTube and scroll around to what parts you want to hear.
We have the technology.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, we're
So I'll just throw out the elephant in the room here. Can the city council manage the water supply in a way that's going to give the port the water it needs to allow for expansion? They've not been able to do it yet.
We started on this task, so I was elected in 2016. 2017, we got high behind it. Do the math. That's 8 years ago.
And here we are,
and here we are.
in a worse position than we were then. Now we have a low bidder who keeps raising the bid.
Well,
How did that even happen?
Let me give you an example. We have a major industry in Corpus Christi, Texas, that employs a lot of people, and they were looking to do a major expansion, and they took that expansion from this plant in Corpus Christi to one in Louisiana because we could not satisfy their water needs. So to answer your question,
So we're already
we
losing.
can't do it right now.
So it'd be accurate to say that thus far, the city apparatus has not shown that it's able to manage the water supply at a level that's needed for expansion at the port.
I'd give them a D minus. This Mary Rhodes, this has been silent on there. I've yelled about it quiet yelling behind the scenes on it, but when it comes down how we have operated using ratepayers' money to build that pipeline, letting it sit there idle for 7 years while the water supply in the lakes go down and down. We sell the water on there based on that being used. Every year, folks, when you have these water rights, you have so much per year. If you don't use them in that year, they're gone. Every year, about 30 million gallons
You
a
lose
day
a little
of
on
water
every
rights.
deal, but you can't make it up in
You can't-
volume.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Disappears, and that's in the times we've had low lake levels. And
So, Greg, let me give some cover for that vote this week, because the 4 people, and this probably deserves to be mentioned, the 5 people that voted to stop this for a month until they get some answers
From the Water Development
from the
Board.
Water Development Board. But the bigger picture is they're not happy with this at all, as Greg is, and the
that's
rest of
right.
them. The price.
Yeah,
Not
it's
a
all
single,
price.
not a single one of those 5 people that voted to stop this, that some people got mad at, that voted last year or two when they voted to do the Inner Harbor project. The 2 that were on the council at that time did not vote for it, and the other 3 were not on the council at that time. So they're saying we never committed to this project in the first place.
Well, I think therein lies the question about whether the city government is properly structured to deal with this question.
Well,
You have turnover every 2 years, and so you have a council saying, give us information. Well, a lot of that information, those questions have been asked and answered, haven't they?
Ad nauseum. And one thing, if you're on council, in their defense, you're drinking out of a fire hose. Water is a very technical issue.
Yeah.
And you're going in there, you get these new members on there. It takes them 3 years to learn on a 2-year term.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I look at San Antonio with it. They've got the SAW system on there. It's 100% owned by San Antonio. The final rate decisions go to council, but they've got their own independent board with people that's all they do is water. And they're an appointed board on there with the council having the final decisions, but they have a continuity.
Yeah.
And San Antonio has a fast turnover, but by having that independent, and I'm not talking about an advisory one, they do the same thing on power.
Yeah.
But you have a continuity then, you have a level of expertise. You're not bringing somebody in that's
Right.
Yeah.
I used to cover those SAWS meetings, those board meetings, and their timelines were 10 to 15 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
They got their ear to the ground looking way out in the future.
And the board members know the subject, right? Because that's all they're there for one thing, is water. And one last thing about our system. So it's the city of Corpus Christi, but the Corpus Christi water system covers a much broader area. It's going to be narrower now that we're going to raise the rates so much.
Right.
But, about half of the water is consumed outside of the city. And they have no representations. And then one last thing, folks, is the price has just gone through the roof on this. There's some chatter about maybe using some general obligation bonds to pay for this. You've got some stuff in 32 coming off there, and I'm going, okay, so we're going to let the city of Corpus Christi taxpayers, which doesn't pay 1 cent into the water system right now, pay for water outside the city? Because we cannot manage, we will end up with probably the highest priced desal plant for its size in the world if we keep traveling down
Well,
the path.
that ball of wax lands at the feet of our city government.
It absolutely does. And what I see, I've got I got a ton of friends out there that they're just, oh, we got to do this, we got to do this. I said, you look at the number, oh, we got to do it, we got to do it. We become our heels are dug in, very emotional on there.
Yeah.
Just the insults. Like Charlie was saying, I had one guy. Well, let's go settle it outside. Well, yeah. Come on, guys.
You know, my money's on Charlie though. He's still pretty spry.
Charlie, but that's the emotional level.
Yeah. But I go back to this question. Just as an outsider looking in, how do we get ourselves in the position where we've signed a contract with Kiewit to provide this, but we don't have a price? When you bid something, doesn't the price come with the
What's
contract?
the point of the bid? The bidding thing.
We did have a price. We had a $212 million price. We spent $1 million getting that price. We had industry looking over that price, and now it's okay. You blah 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 blah.
We still don't. How do you see that, Charlie?
I think I heard that on Tuesday, by the way.
How did we end up in a position where we're almost negotiating against ourselves because we have some deadlines in the future? We got responsibilities to deliver water. The bidder knows that, and the price keeps going up.
Well,
that's the way I look at it.
You look at a situation like the one we're doing over in Driscoll, and when we sat down and started putting that agreement together, I wrote that agreement with a lawyer out of Florida that represents 7 Seas, and it took months and months to put that agreement together, and the one blank that was in that agreement when we finalized it was the price.
Right.
And the reason the price wasn't there then is because you've got to go through these studies, you got to drill your test wells, you got to see what's in that water that you're going to have to remove.
Okay.
You're going to have to look at the distribution system, you're going to have to look at the discharge and all that.
The actual
and
infrastructure,
that's the information that I always tell people, let the engineers make that determination.
Right. Okay.
And then come back to you. I tell my board all the time, when the engineers finally come back to me and with John Morris, the executive director of South Texas Water Authority, and give us that number, then I'll give you that number at that board.
So is a similar situation to that what's going on with the inner city and with Kiewit?
We hired Freeze and Nichols, and they did the preliminary, everything that Charlie's talking about. When they came up with the price, they do the water quality on there. They had an intake. My phone's buzzing now, boy.
I think everybody's phone is up on plane right now.
Mine in the truck.
Great show,
yeah. But so that's done. And desal, RO desal is a fairly simple process. The pretreatment is more complicated. There's 14,000 desalinization plants around the world.
We're not reinventing the wheel.
We are not but when we went and we got the engineer on it, we got one that has a very thin, they've got a great engineering portfolio, you can't match it, but they got a very thin seawater desalinization, and seawater's a different animal than brackish water on there.
Yeah.
So
the pretreatment alone,
one of the biggest problems we run into is I've got a dear friend that was a county commissioner in the valley that helped Greg and I with windstorm insurance, and I made a comment that I had problems with beginners. I used to call them beginners.
Yes.
The cave people.
And he told me no. He said no, they're caves. Citizens against virtually everything.
Yes.
Well, we run into that a lot, and when I sit down across the table and talk with them, it's not water they're against. They always like to tell me, I'm not against desal.
Right.
yeah.
They said water brings industry, and we're against industry.
Right.
Yeah.
And you could make the argument that the anti-desal / anti-industry side of this argument, they're doing pretty well.
Oh, yeah, they're getting exactly
They
what
throw
they
the
want.
stick in the spokes here.
Yeah.
Well, so that's another thing, and the term I use is watermelons, right? There are people who they're green on the outside because they want, we're doing this because you're going to destroy nature and all that, but they're red on the inside because they want basically, in some senses, not in this, not they want communism necessarily, but they've got the whole point is they've got
Anarchy.
an ulterior motive that is just like you say, Charlie.
Yeah.
Not progressing industry, not
Right.
building, not
Yeah.
expanding. We were already losing that battle because we had a major player. I know who you're talking about, who's taking their expansion to Louisiana because we're going backwards.
We've had
water here. Yeah.
we've had more than one, but then
Yeah, we have.
You always have to remember the affordable side of the equation. So if you're delivering $10 or $15 a thousand water on there, they're going to Louisiana anyway.
Right.
So you start down a road and you say, okay, we're going to identify a provider. They're going to come in with pricing, and at some point, what happens if the pricing gets so high that the numbers don't work anymore?
That's exactly what's happened with Inner Harbor.
I think
And everybody out there, I like desal, I like Inner Harbor, I always supported it. It's only when it gets to $1.2 billion where you have to raise rates $100.1 million a year from a rate base right now that's about $160 million. You can do the math on what your bills are going to be.
65% increase.
And then demand, as Brian said and Charlie said, these other who are buying from Corpus, they say, oh, we're not buying that. Your overall, that 104 million gallons a day goes down. You still got all the payments, and this is
So
all
you're losing
fixed
on the
costs.
economy of scale side.
Yeah, so if you lose 10% of your volume on there, you got to raise rates another 16%.
Wow. Sounds like the city has negotiated itself into a corner.
Absolutely, they have.
So what happens? What do we do now?
So we've figured out the problem. We know what the problem is.
Well, that's
and
a
now
start.
it's about time. Let's talk about what our solutions, what our options are.
Right.
Because as I see it, we have several things going on. There's three options, and they're all groundwater at this point.
Yeah.
At least to bridge us to a point where there's a bigger, more efficient, cheaper per gallon rate of seawater desal. And it's always going to be a little more expensive because it takes more power and it takes more cost. So we've got we've got a perfect example in Alice that they've done it. It's produced. It's smaller, but it's an example that is working.
Sarita, Baffin Bay, they've been doing this for years.
Right,
Come
and
on.
so now we've got another option. We had the old wells on the Nueces River.
Yep.
They've opened some new wells.
Yep.
I think as I last checked with Grimsbow, they drilled 4 of them. 2 of them made wells. They were good, but they're 5.4 parts per thousand, which is too much to really, I think, to dump in a river. I don't think TCEQ is going to let you flow it down a river.
That's a little
But there's a pipeline that goes to an area that the city owns just north of, south of Labonte Park, this old water treatment plant, that they could put a groundwater desal plant, much like Alice did, and take water from there, or even my ranch or the Welder Ranch, which there's another 10,000 acres of land that has no people on it.
Yeah.
That you can run real cheap pipeline easements and take it right to the river there, where all the water infrastructure is there anyway. It's all on my ranch.
Go straight into the Owen Stevens.
And you go in there and you got connection with Owen Stevens. Here's the great part about that project is the Nueces River, the 11 miles from the spillway, which is also on my ranch, is you can discharge into the seawater side of the spillway. So if you produce 8 or even 10 parts per thousand, it's going to be much fresher than the water that's already there, and it flushes that 11 miles of river, which hasn't been flushed out in months and months.
That's what
and
I've been talking
fish
about.
kills, algal
or you
blooms,
could go
whatnot.
down the Rincon and put it into the Nueces estuary.
If we turn out that's better with the estuary, we can do it as we do with the overflow
So-
projects, which haven't overflowed in
So,
months.
Charlie, are there enough of these projects out there to do, like Greg is saying, to get us through until we figure out how to do desal? I mean, you got all these regional projects. Can they produce enough water over the next, 4 years?
Without subsidence?
You're talking about, I'm thinking about 3 in particular that I'm working on right now. They might take 9 million gallons a day off of the what Corpus
But that's not enough to
themselves.
supply the needs of the port, right?
But what they're doing is they're taking care of their customers, their constituents. And
But that's water Corpus doesn't have to produce.
That's exactly right.
But that's water that Corpus doesn't have to produce. That's correct.
We had someone reach out to us and ask via online about a potential for an aqueduct system similar to what they did in California from an area where it rains more down to here. Now,
It's
I'm
Chinatown,
sure
Jake.
it's been looked at, but why wouldn't something like that work?
You were crossing you've got all these regions for water on there, so you've got Charlie can talk about that. Just a ton of legal issues, and then They have looked at that. I've got a book that was written back in 1960s talking about that. They were looking at doing that.
You know, you live. My best answer for that is you live in Texas.
Yeah.
And Texas says if you own land,
You got the
you
water
get to
rights.
make a determination
Yeah.
whether you give an easement up or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So yeah,
So you're
people
gonna
asking that
have to
question.
blast your way through with eminent domain.
And,
or something.
yeah, we'll end up.
That's why, you know, I thought one of the greatest things I did traveling with the port was get on high-speed rail. I think that's one of the
Yeah.
neatest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You can go 225 miles an hour and never spill a drop of coffee, you know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's been
you
talked
got-
about.
But you
Yeah.
got to have right-of-way
But
to do it.
Yeah.
In China, they owned all the land. So yeah. They didn't worry about
We
right-of-way.
come through here now.
Now,
can't do
or
that
you
now.
die.
We come through now.
So it sounds like the answer to whether or not the regional providers can save us enough water to supply the port, the answer is probably not. Right?
Oh,
Let me tell you what, and this is strictly me. It's no client that I have, but
right.
I've only been dealing with this issue for about 30 years.
Right?
You know, my oldest client I had 52 years ago, and I've still got him, and it was a water district. So,
Right.
but I look at what's happening with the Nueces River Authority, and I know that that's driven by the governor of the state of Texas. And the governor of the state of Texas has shown with the voucher deal that if he wants something, he can get it. So he's directed Nueces River Authority to do a desal plant, a saltwater desal plant on Harbor Island.
Okay.
Harbor Island and the port and Nueces River Authority have finally done a lease for that.
Harbor Island.
I think what you could do, I would build, this is me in my dream, I'd build 500 million gallon facility a day.
Wow.
I would sell 200 million to San Antonio, and I guarantee you they'd build a pipeline tomorrow morning to come get it.
Yep.
And if you talk about drought, go to the Rio Grande Valley where Falcon's at 8%, Amistad's at 13% of
Right.
capacity, send 200 million gallons down there. You'd have 100 million gallons up here for expansion in the future, and those two pipelines, north and south, would pay for the whole project, in my opinion. And the other thing is to get the project built, the governor also has control of the rainy day fund.
Right.
So he's got the ability to finance that.
That's $30 billion.
So someone can take the URL from this YouTube feed and send it to
the
Greg.
governor.
Yeah.
Send it to Greg, and if you
Brother
could
Greg.
forward that, we would greatly appreciate it.
But
Well,
that's been my theory.
Well, that
for a
kind of
long,
brings
long
us full
time.
circle. We've talked
That's
about that
great,
on this
Tony.
show before. At Harbor Island, if you send a discharge offshore, you can scale it up, and it solves almost all your problems.
Right, and one of the detractors was, they're going to cut a pipeline through the Redfish Bay area. Actually, we were tasked at one point in time talking about boring it. So we would go underneath. So any pipelines coming off Harbor Island just go right underneath everything, and you wouldn't even know they're there.
And, you know, the permits that the port had, at least when Brian and I were there, called for boring.
Absolutely.
Right. The
Yeah.
plan was boring all along.
okay. Yeah.
Pretty
It was boring.
It was a boring
all
plan.
along.
That's why he wouldn't talk about it much.
Okay, so to go to your question though, Dale. So again, going back to 104 million gallons a day. Where are we right now? Alice just opened a little plant that calls for eventually 3 MGD. South Texas is going. They have broken ground on a 3 MGD plant, possibly scalable to 30 MGD. This is not, in some cases, shovel-ready under construction. Evangeline is 25 MGD. It's permitted. They have done all the testing and things like that. Inner Harbor, if you could get it at a decent price, is permitted, 30 MGD. The port was 50 MGD. Has it been
100.
expanded?
100 now.
It's now 100. And then we've got Barney Davis sitting out there in the sidelines.
Right
it has
there.
a lot of infrastructure, and you could probably run 30 MGD out of it under all of your existing. You got all the pipelines and everything else. If you want to go bigger, you have to go out to the Gulf for discharge.
Well, they have lines that go out to the Gulf.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you just reverse the flow, yeah.
So long term, where are we? We're really in pretty darn good shape. And going back to what I said earlier, we're only here because we didn't use what stuff we had to begin with.
Right.
We wouldn't be having this conversation if we'd used that pipeline as designed and built with it. So we've got great opportunity on there. We just need some leadership.
There's one more thing we talk about, and that's a hindrance to this, which is power. These plants take a lot of power, and one of the things that may be slow in the Harbor Island project, what I understand, is that when I was chair of the long range planning, thanks to Charlie, and we were getting that permit, which was the first permit ever in the state of Texas, and still the biggest. We were told we had enough power to run that 50 million gallons. Now they're saying it may be 4 years before they have power to run a larger plant.
4 years and $6 million.
Really?
Okay.
Oh, it'll be a lot more than
and
six.
so I heard yesterday that CPS, which is the San Antonio operator that bought Barney
City
Davis,
Public
they want
Service, they're owned by the city of San Antonio.
That's right. And they're ramping up to get that thing going full speed. My question immediate was, and I talked to, it's headed by Rudy Garza the third or whatever, and Rudy Garza Jr. is, of course, city council.
Rudy Garza Sr. was a tax assessor collector and the former U.S. Marshal.
So Rudy Garza Jr. was on the council forever, and so we had breakfast yesterday. His son runs that whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, here, if we need Harbor Island power, San Antonio needs Corpus Christi Harbor Island water. Why don't you go to your board and say, we need to get power sooner to Harbor Island and the Washoe River Authority, and we will get you water sooner.
That makes too much sense, Brian.
And so I wanted to call Kent Britton, and Charlie and I need to go talk to him and say, have you thought about this, and let's get this, let's see if there's something to be done here.
So if I hear
here's
you...
Greg, the numbers guy. So the largest owner of generation in South Texas in this area is City Public Service, City of San Antonio. They closed last year in May. They bought the Barney Davis plant, which is 1,000 megawatts, 1 gigawatt, and the Nueces Bay Power Plant's 500 megawatts. To run the Harbor Island facility, you need about 100 megawatts. So they own 1,500 megawatts, and then they've got contracts down the way on the Pensacola and some of those wind farms too. So put that power in perspective. You got to upgrade your transmission lines going to Harbor Island. That's probably that cost area. But
so it sounds like what I'm hearing from you guys is Harbor Island is where we need to be looking.
Long term.
That or Barney Davis.
Well,
short term Evangeline. You can bring Evangeline on quick. If we have Evangeline and that Mary Rhodes is working on there, we don't need the lakes. You can pave the bottom of the lakes and make tennis courts out.
Wow.
Then it'll rain.
End up
then
doing
you'll
that.
get some
What's
rain.
the lake percentage now? Where are we? Like
15.
Yeah,
15.
Yeah.
So you're saying we would have a sustainable water source without the lakes with these auxiliary supplies while we figure out what to do at Harbor Island.
Look, we're about to come on dove season. And everybody's making all the calculations that it's never going to rain again. We all know it rains in dove season.
Yeah.
And if we get, look, the Choke Canyon is poorly sited. That was an argument that
we corpused that up.
But Lake Corpus Christi is good. And we get the rain there in the Cotulla area in that much bigger watershed and really south of the braided section on there, and get water in Lake Corpus Christi with it. When we were relying just on Lake Corpus Christi before Choke Canyon, the big 1980s drought that we went through, we were using the same amount of water we're using now.
Yeah.
And that was our only source of supply, and we just about ran out. But we didn't have a $300 million pipeline with a 70 MGD capacity on it, owning all of these senior rights to the water.
Well, I keep looking at, you look at our population growth over the last 2 or 3 census, and it's not there, but our water demand
has been flat.
But going forward, we need more water if we're going to grow the port, right?
If we could get 50 million gallons. So we've got outfits that need a lot of water. But when the Eagle Ford Shale came on, that was game changing on there. That was before the Permian. We had all this close gas, and we had the.
That we flared.
Well, we were flaring, and the liquids, good chemical feedstocks.
Condensate,
So we had an industrial boom. That's when Charlie and I were talking to RWE on desal and stuff. Mary Rose 2 wasn't done. So we had two really big players and some smaller ones come in with it. So we had M&G Chemicals, CC Polymers. They decided to go on their own desal. You had Cheniere and the iron plant, now Mattel, Voestalpine or some unpronounceable word with it.
That's what Mattel.
They went to low water use plants. So on Cheniere first came in looking 20, 30 million gallons a day.
So they went air cooled instead of water cooled?
So they went air cooling. So both of those plants bringing tons of jobs, tons of port work, everything else are not big water users. Mary Rose 2 was okayed and everything else, and we got Exxon, we got Steel Dynamics coming in, we got the water. They really prefer water cooling on there. Again, I remember talking to Rob Tully at the damn Naval Air Show saying, we got the water because I'm relying on the safe yield, firm yield, running Mary Rose 2 at capacity, which we never did till March of this year. With it, and we sold that. That's the history. That's what we forget. Why are we here? Because we haven't run Mary Rose 2 as it was built.
That's on the city, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely on the city.
That's a city operation.
It's a city operation.
And all of those factors lead to what we are now, with a city council that doesn't have faith in its city staff delivering what they say they're going to do. Because they've demonstrated over and over and over again. They've demonstrated they can't. They can't.
Well, the city council is caught in a cost conundrum. They started going down the road, and all of a sudden the price tag just went off the charts.
Yeah,
can't blame them.
I understand why they're doing it, and it's an odd amalgam of interests, right? You have out of the 5 votes, you have people that don't want desal.
Right.
You have people who say they're in favor of desal. They just don't like the price. They're going to love it to death. And so politics is made for strange bedfellows, and we're at an impasse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which means the people who wanted us to do nothing are getting their way.
Right.
They're getting exactly what they wanted. Well, we hope this is exactly what you wanted. It's 8:33 on Larry Elizondo's Power Hour. My name is Jacob Oggs. We are coming at you on KUKA, Driscoll, Texas, 105.9, Retro Country, 103.3, and Retro Tejano, 104.1.
And the Retro Radio CC app.
And the Retro Radio CC app. And
we're easy to find.
If you've got YouTube, just go in the search bar and type in Island Moon Live, and you can find this live, and the recording will go on as soon as we're done here. So you can watch the show and skip around to whatever part you want. If you've got the Retro Radio CC app, you can just go to the podcasts and listen to it again from there, but it's only up there for a day. So just letting you guys know that. We're going to take a quick little break and hear from a couple of our friends, and then we will be, we're going to get some coffee, actually. I'm going to fire up a new cup, and we will be right back.
At the Port of Corpus Christi, we maintain a clear pathway for waterway commerce so that our customers can deliver goods and energy products to the communities who depend on them around the world. We work diligently to build and enhance critical maritime infrastructure and manage traffic 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Thank you, Coastal Bend Region, for entrusting us with your most precious asset.
Time is running out for the Hook'em Book'em Fishing Tournament. The captain's meeting is August 1st from 5 to 10 p.m. at Doc's Seafood and Steaks. Launch is August 2nd. For more information, go to CorpusChristiPOA.net or call 361-882-2762.
The fact is undeniable. We need water. Water for our gardens, our dog's bowl, water for hot showers after a long day, water to drink, live, and thrive, which is why the Inner Harbor Water Treatment Campus is bringing Corpus Christi a proven drought solution, one that promotes healthy bays and keeps taps flowing with an extra 30 million gallons of water a day so that your cup stays full in every single way. Learn more at sustainablewater.corpuschristitx.gov.
Attention Corpus Christi, this is a powerful message from LULAC Council Number 1, located right here in the cradle of the fight for equality. Since 1929, LULAC has been dedicated to the important work of championing civil rights, improving education, education and empowering the community. For nearly a century, the organization has stood as a pillar of advocacy and progress. From beloved events like the Feria de las Flores to impactful initiatives such as the Judge Bobby Galvan Toy Bowl, LULAC Council Number 1 continues to make a significant difference in the lives of local residents. Their various programs uplift the community and create opportunities for growth. As LULAC Council Number 1 looks ahead to its centennial celebration in 2029, the organization invites the community to join hands with LULAC and become part of the ongoing change by visiting LULAC.org. Together, Corpus Christi can uplift its community, defend its rights, and shape a brighter future for everyone.
Shining bright in Texas, the National Blue Ribbon School District of the Year, Corpus Christi ISD, is reaching some new heights. We are proud to be the HEB Excellence in Education Best District of the Year and home to the U.S. News and World Report's Best Public Elementary School. Excellence in early childhood education is our commitment, with our accolades from pre-K through graduation. Thanks to our community, we are building future leaders, innovators, and pioneers with nearly $20 million in scholarships in 2024 alone. And since 2008, $1 billion in taxpayer-approved bond packages, making for a renaissance era of education in CCISD with 20 new school buildings and 24 new elementary school libraries, all focused on student success. Join us in celebrating a century of education excellence. Corpus Christi Independent School District, where every learner is a graduate and every graduate is a success.
Oh, Emery would tell us stories about the hippie days and how he walked around in a psychedelic haze.
A little bit of calm brought to you by our friend Ty Dietz right there. Welcome back to Island Moon Thursdays. We are live from Doc's Seafood and Steaks. We're got a YouTube live going. Just go to Island Moon Live and you can watch this live broadcast or get back to it and scroll through it later. We've got a table of very esteemed gentlemen sitting around me. Jay Gardner, Dr. Brian Gulley, Greg Smith,
Then the others.
and Dale Rankin.
Who you calling gentlemen? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, a lot of this conversation hasn't been entirely gentle, but I think we are actually getting somewhere. One thing that I did kind of want to start from for this next little segment is the normal person who isn't
Right.
up on.
What does it mean to the ratepayer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
A lot of them just see all of this yelling and talking, and the vote stops, and they're getting some kind of really odds and ends. They're not getting the whole kind of thing. Can you boil this down to an elevator pitch of what's
Charlie, you're
happening?
probably in a position to see that whole field, aren't you?
Yeah, what I found interesting in the big hearing that everybody heard about over in Kingsville the other night, there were 100 or so people there.
Right, guides and yeah.
I was sitting beside a lady and I said, I could divide that room in half. And this side would say a discharge into Baffin Bay would create too much salt. And this one would say it would create too much fresh water.
It would help
Exactly.
Petronia, yeah.
But I mean, if you divided that room,
Right.
that's what we were hearing that night, and it gets back to what Jacob's saying. People don't understand; they're uninformed. They're basing it on what they see on the internet, sometime from somebody that has an absolute goal to try and
They're cherry
stop
picking their data.
Advocate, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, where is the ratepayer in all of this? Let's assume that going down the road, we're able to scale up desal, we're able to get all of these other alternative water sources in. Where are our rates headed?
Well, if you look at alternative sources of water, like you've heard Greg say, that is going to cost. It's going to have a cost. I won't put a number out. I've got one in my mind, but I won't put a number out. But it is going to cost to get that alternate source of water. So if you don't develop the ones that Greg was talking about that we have available right now, and you do go to desal or to brackish water desal, you're going to have to anticipate a increase in cost. But if you take, like the Harbor Island plant, I've always, industry takes your water and they have to take chemicals out of it if it's potable
Right.
water.
Yeah, right.
If you can take water off of Harbor Island and send it to industry and then maintain the potable water treatment that we have at the Stevens plant,
Okay.
then that cost is going to be absorbed by industry, and they're paying for that cost right now with the surcharge that they're doing.
Well, if we include industry and we supply water to them as the regional water supplier at the city, does that put downward pressure on consumer rates?
In some ways it does, because your facilities, you're using them 24/7. You don't have your summer peaks, which are 30% more on that. But to distill it down, like you said, if we go forward with the Inner Harbor project, as they're talking about now, it'll add we need to raise rates about 65% over what they are to cover that $100.1 million. If we go to Evangeline as a stopgap measure on there, at the numbers they're talking about with it, it'd be about an 8% increase in rates.
Okay. I'm no mathematician.
I go with the 8.
Speaking of rates,
yeah, but I know what I pay for utilities every month.
Yeah.
Ow! I just wrote that check.
So if you did that, you would so your rates would go up around 8%. You get through whatever it is, Evangeline, whatever it is, until you get to Harbor Island.
You get to you get to one of these other sources, which Harbor Island is a very viable.
And then you can take those.
And as I was doing my backroom politic, and I said, look, we got the permit for Inner Harbor. It's a great permit and stuff like that. Have it there. If somebody comes in and they need 30 MGD, build a plant. Here's the permits on there. We get the industry coming.
Might do that.
The industry. They've got the finance, and they could do it. They wouldn't build it for $1.2 billion because they're going to go to the experts in the world on it and build it for $400 million.
Right.
Yeah.
We got the jobs. We got the tax base. It doesn't fall on the ratepayers.
Which kind of brings us back to the original question: is municipal government the proper decision-making place for our regional water supply?
So that's what I was about to say. As a municipality, we have a fiduciary duty to our citizens not to put them at undue risk and end up like a Stockton, California, and be bankrupt. So if you weigh these different projects, and the project like the Project Alice, where a private company that's backed by a bunch of money is going to guarantee you a price, a volume, and a quality of that water. And they're going to have to stick to it or they lose money.
Right.
But you know where your future is, and you don't put your whole city in financial risk at this open-ended project that I heard the number 1.8 mentioned twice during those meetings, and no one stopped to say, wait a minute, that's crazy.
That's another
Nobody
$600
stopped
million.
them. You know?
Well,
And so that scares me. And so we're putting our financial future of this city, when we can buy the thing at $5.50 or whatever the number is and guarantee that's what it is and tell the ratepayers that's what you can expect to pay for the next.
Well, the other thing that bothers me is I hear people all the time complaining that industry uses so much water.
Right.
Most of the industry they're talking about was here before they were even born.
Right.
And we have an obligation to treat them the same way we do any other customer. That's the one thing if you go to a contested case hearing in Austin over water rates, that's the one thing you've got to prove up is that you're treating everybody the same.
Right.
And you can't make a distinction.
And if we don't have those, like they say, if you cut off the water, you cut off the industry, and they're all going, yeah, that's great. No, now you also cut off the jobs.
That's right.
And if you cut off the jobs,
tax base.
it doesn't matter what the rate is. The man that doesn't have a job, he's moving to San Antonio anyway.
Well,
Right.
It's problem solved. Demand goes from 100 million gallons a day to 20 million gallons
just
a day.
run all the people
so
out
let's
of
cut
town.
off industry. We got 5
We
times
could build
what
one
we
of
need in
Charlie's
water.
high-speed rails, and it only goes one direction.
Yeah, right. Out. Stop having kids. All that. Yeah.
But let's switch subjects here. So
Right,
Charlie.
speaking of the ratepayer.
Yeah, speaking of the ratepayer, Charlie spent a lot of time in this last session on windstorm.
Yes.
I was just up on the actuarial.
I just got my bill.
Yeah, the TWIA, the
Man,
TWIA
I've been hearing
actuary.
about that.
So
Jeez
Charlie,
Louise.
let's talk about windstorm.
Don't open your bill.
Good news.
I think you're aware this is an issue that we started. By we, I'm talking about Greg.
Yeah.
We were joined at the hips in 2012
Yeah.
and to look at windstorm insurance rates and coverages. as a result of what happened with Hurricane Ike in Galveston and the absolute fiasco that came from that, especially with the litigation.
Yeah.
And the first thing that Greg and I found out was that, again, like the issue we're talking about this morning, is people didn't understand what we were talking about when we tried to talk about windstorm insurance. And so we spent 2 years driving, 26,000 miles?
You're on the tourist, a lot on the rubber chicken circuit.
Oh yeah, we know the coast backwards and forwards and left and right and east and west and north and south.
But we started the process, and we got some representation on the TWIA board finally. We got appraisers. We cut back the litigation, but it still wasn't fair and equitable to those of us that live and work in the 14 counties on the Texas coast. And so I'm going to tell you how this bill that we got finally through after 14 years, that we finally got through the Texas legislature. I was in Florida on port business in December of 2022. And of course, our champion for windstorm is Todd Hunter.
Thank you, Todd.
It's just absolute champion. Well, he called me in Florida and he says, Charlie, I want you to come to Austin. And I said, why? And he said, I want you to meet with the two biggest lobbyists for the insurance industry.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I've talked with them. Greg has talked to him. If it's the same old stuff, I'm flying to Corpus.
Yeah.
Well, Beeman Floyd, who represents about 87% of the insurance companies in Texas as a lobbyist, happened to be in Todd's office. And he said, no, we want to talk about a bill that you and Greg came up with several years ago.
Really?
I know why. It took me, as I was flying to Austin, I'm wondering why in the world are we going to do this? I called Greg, and Greg was going to meet me in Austin. And I figured they'd had that big storm in Florida, and they had several companies that folded, and the insurance commission in Florida assessed all the insurance companies in Florida to cover the shortfall. So it hit me why we were going to Austin. So
maybe we'll go to Texas.
And so we go to Austin.
They can go to hell. I'll go to Texas.
So we go to Austin and we sit down with them, and we, like I said, we had drafted a bill, and we had some major concerns. Number one was that, and Greg's heard me make this argument 100 times probably, but I like to take the legislature back to 2012, and we had a fire in Bastrop, Texas, $360 million insured loss in Bastrop, Texas. And I tell everybody, I don't own anything in Bastrop, Texas. I don't know anybody from Bastrop, Texas that I'm aware of, but yours and mine's fire and extended coverage policies help to pay that $360 million.
We don't have any pine forests.
Why
down
don't
here.
you? Why don't you come and help us?
Right.
That was number one.
Yeah.
Number two was I heard Greg tell me 100 times that 15% of every dollar that you spend with windstorm pays off securities, debt.
Yeah.
They would go and get money with debt that would go out 10, 15, 20 years. And so
send us
that
the
was
bill.
a problem, And so what we did in this last bill was a couple of things. The first was, as we said, no more securities. Number one, no more securities.
Wow.
Then we set up a mechanism where if there's an event that we go and borrow from the rainy day fund, and it's
going to be a lot better interest rate, isn't it?
administered by the comptroller.
Yeah.
We pay the going rate plus 2%, and then we assess every policyholder in Texas, all 254 counties, other than automobile and workers' comp.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that borrowing says we're going to assess for 3 years, and that 3 years will pay off that debt where we borrowed it instead of going out 10 or 15 years.
And the 10 or 15 year debt wasn't assessed across the whole
Oh,
state.
no, it was just us. It was just us. It came out of our policies on the Texas coast. And so what we did was we were able to get rid of securities. We were able to get a borrowing mechanism in the event we had a shortfall. If there was no storm, if we go through this year with no storm, there is no assessment. If we have a storm, there will be an assessment after September 1st. But there'll be there'll be an assessment, and it'll be a 3-year assessment. And we figured it would cost the average policyholder in Texas about $3 a year.
Wow. Oh, okay.
And so as a result,
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Greg, Charlie, and Todd. Yes, thank you.
But let me tell you though, as a result of that, if you looked at the actuarial the recommendations from the actuarial committee that go to Greg and the TWIA board.
Greg's on the board.
The other thing that really benefits you and I is that my friend Greg Smith's
the
on
representation
that board.
is right there. Yeah.
But if you go to the actuarial tables where they make recommendations to TWIA as far as raising rates, they said we had an actuarial deficiency in 2024 of, I'm going to use
40,
round numbers, 40% and 43% for commercial.
A little higher, but yeah, 40-something. Yeah.
But you look at today, what they recommended to Greg, 2 weeks ago? It was 3% for residential and 5% for commercial, and as a result, he didn't even have to fight to keep from raising rates this time because the law that we got through with the help of all of our delegation down here, both Hinojosas, Todd, Denise, they really pushed it. When you have a vote in the House on windstorm where we got killed for years, when you have a vote in the House where it passed 130 to 8.
Yeah.
Right.
And you had a vote in the...
Who are those 8 people? String them up.
But when you had a vote in the Senate where it passed 28 to 3...
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that tells you that we did something right this session.
So the key...
And the most interesting part about it to me was when we were negotiating the final piece of it. I've got a deal. I've known Todd Hunter as a friend for 45 years.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of trouble telling him I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night. Don't call me, but anyway.
Todd doesn't go to bed.
And so he calls me at 11:30, and we're negotiating one piece, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. And I've been going to Austin for 50 years.
Yeah.
And I told Todd after this session I retired, but I told Todd. Todd says, "Charlie, wait a minute." I've got him on the phone. He's on the House floor at 11:30 at night.
Wow.
And he says, "I make a motion to approve." It was an oyster bill.
Yes.
I could hear him on the phone.
That was great.
He got a second. They called the vote. Then he said, "Okay, I'm back."
Yeah.
But he got that
That's
bill
awesome.
through, and he did it in a great manner. And then, like I say, the best thing is some of the areas where I had some concerns, TWIA can fix that.
So the key was spreading the risk.
You did get
the
the
key
right
was
guy
spreading
on
the
things.
risk.
The key was twofold. Get rid of securities and spreading the risk.
Spread the risk.
And one of TWIA's big expenses is reinsurance. And by doing this, they don't have to go to the market and buy reinsurance. So that's the Oasis County money that ends up in Bermuda or someplace else. And Todd being Todd and things, they're at the very last minute, they did a little tweak of the bill that the reinsurers would have just gone through the roof.
Well, I remember 2020, just after the unnamed virus, which came from an unknown origin. We were sitting there, we're on this very show, and Todd was telling us, look, there are 2 acronyms that I'm fighting right now. One is COVID and one is TWIA. So this battle's been going on for a long time.
Like Charlie said,
let me tell you what's interesting. In 2012, Todd called a meeting. And when Todd calls a meeting,
here on the island.
You go.
And it was Foster Edwards, Greg Smith, Pete Perkins, and myself.
Yeah.
And he sat there and he said, "I'm forming a windstorm task force, and you guys are going to lead it."
Yeah.
And he said, "And by the way, Charlie, you're going to chair it."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Voluntold. Yes.
And we walked out of the building. I'll never forget. Foster Edwards was head of the chamber then. He looked at me and he says, "When did you find out about that?" And I said, "The same time you did."
Yes, exactly.
Well, speaking of that, so you put a group together, you went after the TWIA problems, you fixed it. Why don't we do that with water?
Exactly.
Why don't we have someone, a decision-making body that actually knows something about water?
And I've been writing about that in the Moon for a long time. We need a third-party citizen council, something.
I mean, you 3 guys sitting right here,
and not
I would
pick
say know more about it than the council put together.
I think we've got 4 people sitting here right now that have more technical knowledge and knowledge of this particular situation than any of the 9
that have been in this area forever.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that?
They don't want to give up the power.
That's right.
I've lobbied for that, and I always get the nodding head. Great idea and stuff, and boom, it disappears.
Well, it seems like an idea whose time may have arrived. I mean, you're talking about a 10 or 15 year timeline, and that time you're going to have 6 or 7 councils.
And look, Mary Rose, the city has made a lot of good decisions on there. Buying those water rights that they did,
That was back
building
in the
one,
80s.
building two, and stuff. And that's how they structured it. They had Hayden Head, one of the most highly respected people in this community, had the blue ribbon on there, and it wasn't just an advisory. When Hayden came before on there and stacked it with people that wanted to move this community ahead and didn't have the ulterior motives and the politics and stuff like that, and we had a Mayor Mary Rhodes on there. That was
Well, San Antonio was trying to get their hands on Texana water at that time.
Exactly.
I was sitting in the middle of it in a helicopter.
On the other side, and we prevailed, and really that's the reason we got any water right now.
And they worked with the port. They worked with the port on that. Everybody was pulling together.
Everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
We're with people that had one thing in mind, is moving our community ahead.
And now you got a city council that's trying to cut citizen action committees out.
Yeah.
Or trying
Well,
to
it
reduce
seems to me
their
like a
influence.
blue ribbon panel on water would fade a lot of political heat for the city council.
Well, that's the smart
Right.
play about it. You blame it on them if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Well, that's and
Right.
It goes back to the same kind of organizing things the same way ISAC does. Things
that's-
that go to the council.
That's why I did an underhanded cream puff to Greg.
Run right.
Well,
through
the people
ISAC.
on ISAC live here. They know the ins
Yeah.
and outs. By the time it gets to the council, the heavy lifting has already been done.
Yeah, and I think what's happened inadvertently, it wasn't like someone did this on purpose,
No.
I hope not, was these decisions go to city council and then they look back at everybody and they're like, wait a sec, I need more time. I got to do all this research. And like
they
you
don't
said,
have
they've got-
time to
they've got
research.
That's
3
what you're-
years to research what they can only have in a 2-year term.
Yeah.
That's what your subcommittees are for.
Yeah.
That's right.
You look at their agenda and look at their agenda packet, and when you meet once a week,
Yeah.
I don't know how you can.
I
They're
know
generalists.
Greg and Dan.
And then
that they had to-
I really don't understand how you can sit in a meeting for 9 hours
Oh, yeah.
and do something efficiently. It's just amazing.
Well, you had to start when the agenda packets came out on Friday. You had to start Saturday afternoon, Sunday. Yeah.
They're coming out on Monday now, I believe, by state law, aren't they?
A week ahead.
A week
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
But then there's always addendums on Friday.
There's always a dinner. So when Zanotti got there, we had a week ahead of it.
Yeah.
And you can't
Gotcha.
count the day of the packet goes out. You
Yeah.
can't count
We're
we
getting
we
down
just
to about the last minute.
we just entered squirrel
on the
cage
show
there.
here. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I've learned more about desal today than I have up the time always
Absolutely.
up to this point.
This is a great
You know,
show.
I sort of I do a side swipe. I watch the meetings. I see. I turn the sound off a lot. Honestly,
It will
because
rot your
I've heard
brain,
it
yes.
before. The guy before you just said the same thing.
Do not watch council. It'll rot
But
your
it
brain.
sounds like in the long term, what I'm hearing
Greg
is
told me that.
Yeah.
we have alternative sources in the short term. We need to be looking at Harbor Island.
Oh, we need to be looking at all the alternatives. Help put 2 people from the port, 3 people from the city, a couple people from industry. Do your blue ribbon. Come have some engineering background.
An environmentalist or two.
Environmentalists or 2.
Who would
and,
pick
yeah,
that? Would the
basin
council pick
estuaries.
that, I guess?
Well, really, we're talking regional. We need to be regional. We need somebody
Absolutely.
from the other side of the bay.
Absolutely.
On there. Get that blue ribbon on there that you're touching all the bases. Let them come up. We've got all these potentials on there with recommendations, but we do need to act. I don't think we got to get something nailed down. We talked about several on here, and
This is something
we got
that-
517
When God made
days
Texas,
left.
He made enough
God
land for everybody, but only enough water to fight over.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, this is something we'll definitely address further and keep this going. Gentlemen, thank you so much for jumping on the show.
Great
this
show,
is Larry
everybody, yes.
Elizondo's Power Hour. We're going to be turning this back over to the Mushroom Cloud of Truth, Eric Von Wade, here shortly. We are live on YouTube, and this recording will be up, so feel free to jump back to Island Moon Live on YouTube and rewatch this, or copy the URL, share the video, give it a like and subscribe. Send it to people who need to hear this discussion where things are actually explained, which is fantastic. We're going to leave you with a little Boudreaux and Poussin. You can go see these guys at the Gaff tomorrow night. Little happy Cajun music while we get you going
Bring a
on
little
KU.
Cajun to the island.
Yes,
Yes,
KUKA,
and
Driscoll, Texas.
And thanks to Oggs for running the boombox.
Thank you
Trying to
all.
make everybody
See?
sound good. It takes a lot from me, but we'll see it. Yes. 105.9 and 103.3, and Retro Tejano 104.1.